Okay, now that we got the bracket done, now we're going to work on that outer skin. And if you remember correctly, we made a template of this is what the kind of final shape needs to be. And of course, you know, this gets bent up and bent over. So what we need is something that more is like a profile like this. Then we'll bend it up. And I've got markings here, kind of where the beginning of the bend will start, and then we just got a little extra up here to deal with. Then what we'll do is we're going to use this planishing hammer to actually start putting the contour in. And if you start looking at the different dies, it looks like this one right here will be pretty good to kind of get the brunt of that radius in there. It pretty much lines up. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a shape out, and then we're going to kind of mark where we got to start getting that shape into the part, and then we're just going to run it through the planishing hammer. So the first things we're going to do is just kind of cut it out, and we're going to use our shears for that, and then we're going to set the planishing hammer up for us. Okay, so we cut our piece of metal, and we kind of figured out kind of where we got to start putting our shape into it. And we're just going to kind of put it in. We've got the die set in there. We can start working it back and forth to actually start. And you see it's starting to take a little bit of shape now as we do this. And I'll probably give it a little bit less pressure. And we'll just keep working it until we kind of get it to get our shape. See, we're starting to get there. So we'll keep working it and compare it against our template until we get where we need to be. Alright, so I was having a little bit hard time getting the shape I needed on the planishing hammer. So I'm actually going to use my English wheel and start to actually wheel it in and get it to shape. So we'll go from there. Alright, so we'll just keep working it until we get our contour, and we'll go from there. I'll show you some progress as we get further along. Okay, so we've been rolling it, and now you can see we're starting to get the shape, you know. You can see a little bit of daylight through there, but we're starting to get the shape now. So a little bit more, and we'll go from there. But that's looking pretty good in there. This we can pull back, that's not a problem, but it's getting the contour from this point where my thumb is to this point where my thumb is, or my finger. That's kind of the shape that we're looking to try to maintain, and we're getting there. Okay, so now that we've established our shape, I'm going to cut it up onto the top across here, and then I'm going to mark it where we're going to start to bend and do the cuts for this. So we'll cut across, and then we'll basically go from there. Okay, so we trim the top, and this is a little tab. There's a little rust area that's going to be taken care of. And I actually set it up onto a edge of a table, clamped down, and brought it around. So now if we start looking at our final shape, we're getting really close, right? So now we got to basically do a return bend here and a trim, and then we'll be able to start trying to fit it. But you know, now that with all the bends in it and everything, it's extremely strong, and it's actually going to be pretty cool. So that's where we're going. So once we get that done, you know, we've got the bracket that we made to support this, and we'll replace that. And, you know, we'll go through the steps, step by step. Okay, so now we've got our scribe lines. I don't know if you can see them, but this scribe line across tells us where the bend is, and this is our lip right across here. So we're going to cut across there, we'll set this up, and then we'll bend along that line. You can see the scribe lines if you angle it just right. Yeah, there you go. So this comes to there, and then that's going to be the lip that bends across like this, and that's what we're actually going to tack to on the bottom of the rocker panel. So again, we're going to use our shear, nice and slow. Nice straight cut. Then we're going to set this up inside of the edge of the table and bend that. Okay. So next we ended up, I had to scribe the line on the inside to get it on my bench, but now I just put a straight bar across here and clamped it, and this is the flange that's going to get bent. So I'm just going to start working this gently. Just kind of start tapping it, and then I'll start to come around. I'll just sharpen the bend up a little bit. There. We'll just unclamp it. And now we've got our panel ready to fit. Okay, so we actually ended up making the end piece too, and ultimately we're going to need to weld that into here. It fits into there, but we won't do that quite yet. Now what we'll do is we'll get this onto the car and we'll work on cutting it in. I did have a tab up on top to fold over to hit some rust that was up there, but I kind of measured wrong. I had the orientation of this wrong with respect to the rocker panel. Again, that 12-inch mark that I moved back, I should have checked it, but I didn't. So I was off a little bit. So, but we'll take care of that with another piece, but we'll get this one mounted for now. Okay, so measure 12 inches back from there, and all I'm just going to do is force this up. You know, I'm up over the other part, so I'm just going to go like that. And then we're going to just scribe it. Like that. I'm going to remove the panel. I'm going to use my zip grinder to grind this all out, and then we're going to just put it in with some panel clamps just to kind of hold it in place. Okay, so we got the panel all fitted up now, and what I'm going to need to do is weld this into there, so we'll take it off to do that. But if you look at the bracket we actually made, that's going to go inside of here like so, and it's all against the contour. The relief here is good for this, and we'll have to make a little patch in there, but we'll take this off one more time, get this end cap welded onto it, and we'll weld this once this is all in place, and we'll start tack welding it. Okay, so we're just going to start tacking this a little bit. Hold it in place. Tack there. Tack there. Tack there. Then I'm just going to go all the way around. I'm probably going to go on the inside too. Okay, so we got the end all welded off, and I just rough grounded or whatever. So now we're ready to start installing it. But I wanted to get that on, and I actually put some weld on the inside too, just to double up on the weld. So now we're getting shape. We got this we bent this around to fit into the contour, and we're going to need a little teeny patch, but we'll take care of that later on. But we're getting there. Okay, one last final fitment before we start welding it. And all I'm going to do is just a whole bunch of little teeny spots, and after 3 or 4 spots, just take an air nozzle just to kind of hold it down in place. But we're getting there. We're up nice and tight against that flange inside of there. We'll work this around. You know, this will come around a little bit. I've got some room, and we'll just go from there. A couple of precautions I like to do before welding. The first is actually putting a welding blanket over the windows. The weld splatter can actually embed into the glass. Ask me how I know. I did that 40 years ago, and I won't do it again. and I put a little bit of Speedy Dry down on the ground. The splatter has a tendency to, while it's hot, hit the concrete and puck the concrete or burn your epoxy coating and things like that. But with that, it actually acts as a barrier, and then you can sweep it up afterwards. So we will start welding this panel in. Alright, so looks like we're all done. If you look inside of here, if you look close, you can see that bracket all in there welded. We've got the front face, and you can see the flanges, how they all fit really nice up in there and everything. And if you come around, you know, we're all welded. I'm going to put a little bit of fiberglass reinforced filler on here just to kind of seal it up. And then you can see the thickness of the vinyl spray. And what we'll just do is we'll vinyl spray all over this and everything. But, you know, if you looked at how we started, we've got all metal in there now. You know, the bracket, everything. So we're pretty much good to go. Alright, so we're pretty much done with this side now. I cleaned it up a little bit. I did a little bit of metal to metal filler to just kind of seal this all up in here on this seam a little bit. And ultimately what I'll do is I'll spray it with some primer. And this is like the tape line for the vinyl spray, rocker shuts. And it was on really, really thick. So I'm probably going to do like 3 heavy coats to kind of get back to the surface build that it was. But, you know, we're dealing with all metal now. You know, we go in here, we can look inside at our bracket that we did inside of here that we hammer formed. We got a nice metal edge here. What we'll do is when we put the side skirt on, we'll transfer the hole. The fender will bolt to this, and it's all sealed up and really nice. And if you look here at the angles, you know, the angles that we bent match up to this really nice and everything, and we welded underneath. So we're pretty much all done. You know, we could have, you know, there's another approach that you could have taken, is we could have just bought a complete rocker panel, cut it out, and you know, spliced it in. But that bracket that was inside that we hammer formed, I wasn't able to find one of those. And there's many times where you can't get a rocker panel. So I thought it was really good to kind of go through the steps to kind of show how to make patterns, how to hammer form, how to get shape into a panel, you know, a rocker panel, and, you know, and splice it in, and we're all back good as new. Thanks for watching.